Thank you for coming to see us, Ben. Please take the stage when you're ready.
No problem at all. Thank you very much.
All the way from.
So good morning, everybody. As I introduced myself there, so my name's Ben Slater, and I do mental health consultancy through 5 Ways Devon. And one thing that's really important to me is as you can tell by Devon being in the name, is service to this county. It has its own particular challenges, but some people just see a holiday destination. This was recognised 2 years ago when we got the medal for the Company of St Boniface, his actual medal for services to Devon, and I think that's one of my proudest moments, in that we were during lockdown, we were serving and training volunteers and people that were in real challenging situations throughout lockdown. But one of the important things is that mental health for me does have to be based in reality, in our real lives. So I'll give you an example of how my life is rooted and real, and both in the mental health sector. So I was driving through Exeter the other day on the school run. I do the school run. I say driving, I was stationary because somebody had put up some surprise roadworks again in Exeter. And my son could see I was getting stressed about it. My stress signature is normally to say things like, mini roundabouts are still roundabouts, people, and things like that. And he could see I was getting stressed. And so he said to me, Dad, just take a deep breath through your nose. Take a deep breath through your nose. And it was that perfect parental moment. I just thought, this is the legacy. This is, I've passed on all my knowledge. He's seen that I am distressed. He's cared that I'm distressed. He's 13. He cared that I'm distressed, and he knows that breath work works. So I take a deep breath through my nose, and a broad smile goes across his face, and he goes, Dad, I just farted. That's my world. Okay, that is my world. Okay, I'm so glad that's committed to film. No, it's fine. I posted about it, and my son was super proud. He said, "How many likes did that one get, Dad?" It's like, yeah. And people online calling him a legend for that. So he needs no more encouragement. So one of the things we're looking at is a slightly different slant here. Is about having difficult conversations, and any sort of insights and intel from the mental health sector, and some from bits of research that we've got, and some from the themes and topics that come out from doing mental health strategy and training with lots and lots of different sectors. So work with charities, we work with national sporting bodies, working with sort of middle to large companies and enterprises and community interest companies. And there's the real themes that come out with this. And one of them is people saying, I was having a conversation and it just blew up. Where did that come from? This conversation has gone sideways in a big way, and I don't know why. And so we look at that, and so we're going to look at just some of the bits behind that, why a conversation may suddenly become difficult through the mental health lens. Before we do that, you've got a piece of paper in front of you. I know, old school, and on there, just one word. Think about a really difficult conversation that you have. You don't have to say what it is. Quite often when I'm doing training, the main thing that people enjoy is that they don't have to give answers if they don't want to, and there's no role play at all whatsoever. So I need to say that. So one word to describe a difficult conversation that you've had. Okay, one word. So either how it made you feel, either how it changed your day. So one word to describe a difficult conversation. Don't put anybody's name.
Spelled discombobulated.
You just put off, something off.
Yeah.
Mine comes up in my iPhone now when I do DIS, you know, because I've used it so many times. So
Well, just populate it.
So what's it mean then?
Okay. And there might be lots of different ones, but maybe just 3 people to say what they've put down on their piece of paper? Emotional. Good emotional, bad emotional? Bad emotional. All right, okay. Frustrating. Yeah. Sorry? Awkward. Yeah.
But angry.
Angry.
Tense.
Tense. Okay, so nobody's put anything about information. You know, everybody's put something about personal communication. Sorry?
I put fines. I might have missed the idea a little bit, but that's the word that everybody, oh yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, so the masking of it.
And it's definitely the conversation behind that.
Yeah, yeah. So actually, I might feel all these things, but the word I use to describe it is fine. Yeah. Fine, thank you very much. Any heard of the work by Daniel Pink at all about motivation or drive? Thank you. All right, okay. So essentially, what he talks about is he talks about 3 things being a motivation. So mastery, so me being able to do what I do really, really well. Autonomy, me being able to make decisions by myself. I can send the slides out if people want, you know, if you...
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. I mean, wait till I've finished, you might go, no thanks. Yeah. But, you know, just, you know, and contribution. So I'm able to contribute to something, whether it's my community, whether it's to some bigger ideal. Those tend to be for pieces of work that are not repetitive and factory based. Any other job, that tends to be the drive and the motivation. So when we have conversations that are around appraisal, contracts, putting things together, anything that might involve a bit of criticism, we are pushing on those 3 motivators because our conversations tend to be about competence. You know, so are you doing something well enough? That clashes straight with that idea of someone's mastery. Control, in terms of actually, we're saying, no, I don't want you to do that by yourself. We'll do that together, or that comes back in. Or censorship, which is, okay, I love ideas A, B, C, and D, but I just want you to do A. Okay, I don't want you to do any of those things there, and we're actually just cutting people off there. And these can happen in different contexts. In appraisal, it happens a lot. Okay, in other contexts where we are working out the bounds and scope of a partnership, especially where professional credibility is in the balance. So we're trying to build something new. Where we are chasing payment. Yeah, a lot of nods in the room. We're chasing payment. Okay, all those things that put people slightly at odds. And the reason for that, reason that this clash comes together, is that we're thinking about it. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm not a great window. Is that we're thinking it as a trust and verify exercise. So actually, when we are working with somebody else, we do give them a lot of trust. We're not on their shoulder all the time, but we also need to verify that stuff is done. So that's our view when we're coming into a conversation. We're trusting and we're verifying. But their view is actually all these things are to do with my fulfillment, with my moving forward, with my ability to realize my better self. Okay, so these mastery, autonomy, and contribution are all parts of my master plan to being better, to being a bigger business, and so on. And any element where we're talking about competence, control, and censorship, which may all be reasons. They might have done an awful job for us. Okay, so we need to censor it, bring it back in control, and question their competence. But for them, and it's a long word, deactualization, but essentially it just means I am stopping you being your imagined better future self. You know, I am the spanner in your works. I am the thing that is popping your dreams. And that's what they're thinking. So sometimes when it's even really a small conversation, it can become large and blow up. I don't know if anybody's had that experience of going, I thought we were talking about this, but now we seem to be talking about this, you know? And you know, I thought we were talking about the HMRC, but now we're talking about this, you know, those sort of things. And that's why things go sideways so quickly, is that even the smaller things have a deeper value and deeper sensation because they're about fulfillment. So 3 motivations. And this generates two hurts, okay? So one of them is stigma. So stigma is a disproportionate, irrational, negative view of something, okay? So when we talk about self-stigma, there's 3 messages. I'm bad, I'm weird, it's all my fault. Quite often this is prevalent in mental health, and it stops people getting help. And also it does mean that some people feel they're undeserving of getting better, say in the mental health sector. So that's self-stigma. But you can have stigma that you throw outwards as well. So I don't know if you've had any conversations where you've been made to feel that you're bad, you're weird, all right, or it's all your fault, okay? That throwing that stigma out. I mean, you're weird for expecting people to pay within 30 days. Nobody else does, you know, so those sort of things. So it's a completely rational question, but the stigma starts to skew it. It's not about the facts. It's nothing about the facts. You can be compliant up to the hilt, got your privacy notice in place, you've got your payment terms in place, got your insurance in place. It's not about that. It's about actually, you are the spanner in my works, you are the stopping my self-fulfillment, my dreams, you are weird, you are bad, and it's all your fault. The second hurt is around shame. So actually, if I'm having a conversation about competence, it can bring up shame. If I have a conversation where I need to put in extra control with somebody, it can bring up shame. If I'm having a conversation where I'm just censoring, I'm withdrawing a piece of work that someone has done because it's completely inappropriate, it can bring up shame. And we talk about a shield of shame. So people hide behind shame. So quite often we think of, you know, someone being, you know, quite collapsed and down and you know, penitent or whatever it might be, but actually shame is used as a shield. And we can blame, so it's all your fault, nothing to do with me. We can minimise, wasn't really that important, I don't know what the fuss is about. You might recognise some of these statements. Rage, rage. Is anybody here a broadband provider? No? Okay. Yeah, I'm double checking, okay. I know it's on film, so I'll be careful what I say next. Is there legal counsel in the room? Yeah, okay. So I have experienced rage during an encounter with my broadband provider, but actually, you know, it comes from a place of, I should be able to sort this. And that shame that comes up. And the other one is deny. So, no, this isn't happening, doesn't affect me, and so on. So complete fantastical thinking, doesn't happen to me. So these 2 hurts of shame and stigma are thrown into the mix. So you can start to see how a conversation can easily go sideways, and we can start to go, how, you know, I was just talking about replacement parts, and why is this happening? The other thing makes difference is whether we're coping well or not coping well. I'm really interesting to think about what was said by Mr. Taylor here. Is it Andy?
Yes.
Yeah. So actually, the interlinking of emotional health, mental health, and physical health can be seen on a continuum. I know I've put a line there, okay, but really it's a continuum between thriving and surviving. You can have the same conversation in the words with very different outcomes if someone is coping well or not coping well. Lots of nods there going, yeah, oh yeah. And so, because when we're coping well, we can see a problem, a bump in the road, and we think about it in terms of quality of service. Okay, so that hasn't worked out. Okay, let's think about how we can change our service terms or quality of service, or what we need to do to fulfill our terms of service. But when we're not coping well, it goes straight to self-worth. So this is, I can see the difficulty and I've got some solutions. This is, I am rubbish. So there's two very, very different bits here in terms of there. So we've got 3 factors in terms of that mastery, autonomy and contribution. We've got 2 hurts, the shame and the stigma. And we've got a difference about whether we're coping or not coping. So what do we do about it? What do we do about it? There are still things that we need to get done. We still have a function. We're not counsellors. Well, some people might be counsellors, but actually in that role, in that conversation, it's not for us to provide therapy. We've got a function to complete, whether it is something to resolve, some information to get, any of those things that take place. So how do we do that? Well, whilst not doing therapy, we can introduce some therapeutic elements. And all therapeutic means is that we are trying to reduce the barriers without reducing the challenge, okay? So actually, there are things that we can react off that are avoidable. So when I'm asking, I do it in several steps. I notice, I validate, and I open ask, okay? So what I mean by that is, I've noticed that. Okay, so whatever that is that challenge. I've noticed that you're not getting back to my emails. I've noticed that, whatever the behaviour picking up on. I've noticed that you're not making time for these meetings, that you cancelled several times. I've noticed that, the payment hasn't arrived in our accounts. Validation is different from condoning. It's not saying it's all right, but it's saying, you can say it's understandable in the current climate that might be a challenge. I'm not saying that's all right, but we're giving a bit of understanding, a bit of validation, and essentially what that links into is something that we might describe as the most generous interpretation, okay? And I don't know about you, but sometimes when we have challenges, part of me goes, this person has made it their lifelong ambition to spoil and damage my life. Sometimes I do that, it's only in the last 5 years of freelancing that I've found so many arch nemesises, but actually nobody wakes up and goes, oh, do you know what? I'm going to make Dave Stigland's life hell today. I mean, outside your family, but So,
I think my ex-husband was quite good.
yeah, there are exceptions. But actually, what is it that's understandable? And it's understandable that. And then we're starting to make the conversation more common and moving a needle from what's wrong with you to what's happening for you. Because actually what we need to do is understand those circumstances a bit more. And it's an open question, tell me about the situation, tell me about what's going on. It doesn't mean that I'm still not going to ask you for money. It doesn't mean that I'm going to say how you've behaved is all right. But actually they're much more open questions that bring the barriers down. And quite often when I'm having conversations, I will ask directly, is there anything unreasonable that I've said? And they'll go, no. Okay, fantastic. And it's quite nice to get that verbal affirmation rather than somebody not saying everything they wanted to say, going away and stewing and then thinking, actually, oh, Benny was completely unreasonable for asking me to pay him. And so those things can be really, really important that go in there. So I've noticed that, it's understandable that, and tell me about. 3 factors, 2 hurts, 1 difference, and the ask. That's my LinkedIn, but I'll open up to Q&A.